Well, hello there, humans, bees, earthlings, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and whoever you're lucky enough to be doing it too. I'm Bushka and Blitz, back with another tank. That's right, today we're going to change it up and have a look at a tank. This is the M6. It's the Tier 6 American heavy tank that looks pretty much exactly the same as the Tier 5 American heavy tank, the T1. Now, this is the first line I ever drove up in Blitz. And I was kind of lucky, I feel like I was lucky that this is the line I chose, because it certainly made me stick around a little longer in the game. It's a typically American tank, and by that I don't mean in a bad way. I mean it has the hallmarks of American tanks, which is it's good, well not good, it's okay at a lot of stuff, and it has good gun depression. And that's enough to get you by, particularly at Tier 6. And we'll go right through it and I'll break it down, what you need to know about the tank, how you should be playing it, all those kind of special things, right after I have a little chat to you about Patreon. Patreon is how I basically keep the lights on here, and there's more and more sponsors turning up to the channel. And there's a reason for that, because we have a really good time. We do events, we do European server events, NA server events, and Asia server events. We have a Discord channel, we've got a chat channel that's got like 170 plus people in it at the moment. And there's private videos and such which you get access to as well. So click on the link, become a sponsor. This is a great tank or a great line to go up. All you really need to know about this line is to go hull down. If you can go hull down, you'll be able to use what amounts to generally really solid gun depression numbers. And that's exactly what you get with the M6. You get a tank that's got really solid gun depression, and it's got pretty bloody good gun handling. For a Tier 6 heavy, that is. It's running a 90mm, and it's the 90mm, the same 90mm you get basically on the Jackson and the Hellcat, which are two bloody nice tanks, and they've both got solid gun handling. And you've actually got the same rate of fire as the Jackson and the Hellcat, because you can run vents and those two tanks can't, being open top vehicles. And your dispersion, while it's not the same, well, for all that, it's pretty bloody close. And it means that you, as a heavy tank, you're quite capable of being a bit of a marksman for your tier. Now, I say all that because basically at Tier 6, your gun is not refined. It's not like the laser beams you're going to find for the most part at higher tiers, and you've got to take that into account. But amongst all your peers, you're just fine and dandy. You're one of the better tanks in terms of dispersion numbers, behind like the Churchill, and equal with the VK3601H. And you've got decent amount of hit points, 1,040 hit points, which isn't huge. It's all right. You've got a lovely amount of pen. You've got 160mm of pen. Well, it's not lovely, but it's not terrible either. It's right around the middle of the pack for a Tier 6 heavy. And your DPM is grand, actually. Your DPM is up there as well, right alongside the Churchill and the VK again. But what you do have is 10 degrees of gun depression, and that's really important, because that's better than any of the other heavies at your tier. Now, I'm not including the KV2 in these either, because the KV2 is, it's not really a heavy. You can play it like, I don't want to get, that's a red herring, I don't want to go there. Mobility wise, and this bears in mind that this is, all these stats are running vents, rammer, and your rations. I'm running double rations on this. I'm running food, large food, small food, and large fuel. And basically, the numbers you're going to end up with that are 35 degrees of traverse and 34.75 degrees of turret traverse. So about 35 degrees of turret and track traverse. And that's just fine and dandy, because that's pretty much, you know, solid enough to get you through the day around here. You're going to struggle as a carry monster. You're not really a carry monster. And that's neither here nor there. That's just what it is. You can side scrape in this tank. It's not very effective at it, though. The side's only about 45, 50mm. And the tank itself doesn't really have the armor profile that you'd expect from a big heavy tank. And at this tier, that's quite often true. The only guys who really seem to have those strong armor profiles at this tier are Russian, and that, you know, that's neither here nor there, but hashtag Russian bias is legit. I mean, frontally you can get penned a lot. If you angle, you'll be better off, but it's still not huge. What you really got to use is your gun depression. I'll show you what I mean by that. You can see I'm on Port Bay. I'm in the middle of the far flank, and I'm just going to be using the gun depression here to get shots off, and I'm hitting these targets without exposing myself over much. And that's important because you don't have a heap of armor. You can be penned from all over the place on your turret as well. 140 millimeters, and I'm just asking Ouija, who is there, because he should be working. I'm asking him if he's on a poo break. I'm being a bit silly because Ouija is actually working from home the day that this was shot, and as such, he was just doing this. And you can see I'm just clicking away here using the gun depression. Now, gun depression is very simple. I've got 10 degrees of it. That means I can depress my gun 10 degrees towards the ground, and that's big. That's a big number in Blitz. You'll get the occasional tank that'll do 13 or 12 degrees of gun depression. I think you can even get up to 15 degrees of gun depression, maybe on the Otsu or one of the German TDs, I forget, or the M3 Lee. It's one of those silly ones anyway. But it means that you can get shots like this off. You can use the gun depression and solid gun handling. 0.337 is your dispersion rating after all your stuff to really make some noise on this thing. But its alpha is all right. I mean, 225 is your average alpha. Its penetration is all right. It's so typically American. There's a lot of things that are solid, but nothing that stands out. And 225 alpha is better than a lot of the mediums and other tanks that will be running at this tier, which will be 75 millimeter guns. And they generally rock out about 160, like that VK2801. So it gives you a little bit of a heads up in a peekaboo fight, but you certainly don't have the kind of wallop that a KV-1S has. And you can see there, we hit him for 236, he hits us back for about 160. That's peekaboo hit point trading, and it's one that you'll generally come out on top of because you have a bigger alpha, and you only go out when you've got the alpha. And I'm going to show you this game here, which we lose. I'll break it to you now. But you can see I'm angling the front of the tank. You don't have enough armor. You can check this thing out in Armor Inspector, and I suggest you use Armor Inspector to check your tanks out so you can see what their gun depression is. You can see how their armor profile matches up. It's an app on the App Store. You need to be using it. There is an online web-based version of it as well. I also use Tank Compare, which is Sock Robber, my good mate Sock Robber. He is a patron and he also runs Blitz Stars. That is an excellent, excellent page if you want to get to see how you can actually compare your tank to other tanks of the same tier. And look at this thing. I mean, it does 35 kilometers an hour. It's quick enough. It's mobile enough. It gets around the place. And it's got gun depression. And you can use it for things like this, which is hill and corner fighting on a hill, which is excellent. And the gun handling's surprisingly good for a tier 6 heavy. I found that it was a lot like driving the Churchill in terms of the gun handling. Despite it doesn't have that very, very low aim time, it was an aim time that was good enough to actually get the job done. And you can see, although I am going to go down swinging here, I am absolutely doing the business in terms of putting damage out and helping the team do the right thing. We lose a game. What are you going to do? It's a good line overall, and I think that's an important thing to remember. When you're dealing with these tier 5 and tier 6 tanks, it's not just about whether this is a good tank to get. I don't think this is particularly a keeper. It's a bit vanilla for my taste, and I'm not going to keep a lot of tanks in my garage unless I'm going to drive them, and I just wouldn't drive this very often. But it's an honest tank. It's a workman that'll go out and do the business for you and get the job done. And at the end, it's a line that's full of tanks like that. The M103, the T110E5, the T1 Heavy, the T32 even to a... I mean, they're all tanks that tend to have good gun depression. They've got good strong turrets, and that varies in the T29. I mean, I'm missing out the big dog in the line there at all. That's a great tank. And so if you're looking for a line to drive up that will reward a particular solid one type of play style all the way through, well, this is it. I mean, this is a hull down line. They've all got good gun depression. They've all got fairly strong turrets, or at least the facsimile of a fairly strong turret, as in when you are on a hill and you're actually using gun depression, you have a much steeper angle on your turret than you do when you're just sitting on flat ground, because you're usually above the target. So it means that you will get more bounces and more value for money out of your armor profile. That's not to say that they are all really good tanks, but they're tanks that if you can learn one particular playstyle, you can adapt it from tier 5 right through to tier 10 and just work exactly the same way every time, with obviously small adjustments as you go up in tiers and you go up in opponents and you go up against bigger shells and tanks that can pen you more easily, or tanks or different styles of turret. Like the E5 has a very big hatch, that's a weak point. The T29 does not. The T32 is a very, very good hull-down tank. It's got very, very poor gun handling, I find. They're all different kind of bells and whistles, but for the most part, it's consistent. And that's good, because if you're driving this line, learn that play style, you'll be just in Jim Dandy. And it's a play style that you need to learn for a lot of tanks. So I'd suggest that the M6 is just another step on that road. I enjoyed driving it. It wasn't one that held my attention terribly long, though. I'm going to be doing the AT-15 tomorrow. We're going to be having a look at the AT-15, and as such, I'm going to be throwing a few games up for that. We're going to be doing a lot of stuff this week. On Friday, Aussie time, I'm going to be doing a live Twitter broadcast. I'll announce, not a live one, sorry, I'll be doing a Twitter broadcast, and I'm going to announce when I'm doing that on Twitter. If you don't follow me on Twitter already, there's about 1,000 of you now, so at Bushka on Blitz, and we're just going to use the simple hashtag Bushka, okay? I was pointed out that that's probably the easiest way of doing it. Hashtag Bushka, and ask me a question. Whoever I've got on as a guest, I'll go through it and I will discuss maybe more than one guest. I might get a few people in and have a bit of a round table panel discussion on the thing. Whoever's around in the Patreon channel and Grump, I'll grab them. I've got an interview with Alex from Wargaming coming up at the end of the week, which should be good fun as well. And I'm also going to be doing a lot of other stuff. I'll let you know as it happens. Until next time, boys and girls, thank you so much for watching. And as always, stay safe on the battlefield.